Look, it's a mask from the horror anthology film Lore, currently available on Amazon Prime. Hello Cheeky, this is Greg Johnson making, and I'm making Ripley from Alien or Nostromo crew cosplay. And I just got a text. Alien is a film. So all the way back in, I made this incinerator unit, or Ripley Alien movie flamethrower, and made big promises about how I was going to cosplay at Thought Bubble, the Comic-Con in Harrogate, which was all the way in the future in November. This story ends with me attaching zips to the legs of this jumpsuit at 10:30 p.m. the night before Thought Bubble. It's funny how time runs out, isn't it? I also made big promises about cosplaying as a Ghostbuster on the Sunday, which I didn't do. I'll reveal why towards the end of this video. A small handful of you will have noticed that I've been away for a while. I'll explain where I've been, what I've been doing and what's coming next, also at the end of this video. So this is Nostromo crew cosplay on a budget. It's not super screen accurate, but it's more than screen accurate enough for my needs. Everything's on a budget. The budget for this one happens to be a small one, that's all. So we're going to make the shirt, then the shoes, no shirt, no shoes, no service obviously, then the space watch, then the jumpsuit, then we're going to weather it all, and then we're going to put it on, go to Thought Bubble and have a lovely time. So as I say, this story begins with a shirt, and thankfully I already had almost exactly the right shirt in my wardrobe. Let's see. Here we go! Make a shirt. So this shirt is perfect, it's a nice safari shirt with epaulets and everything. Only thing is it's pale blue.
Experiment 1.
Victoria Wrencat, whoever she is. This is colour remover. It's colour removing powder. You just stick it in the pan, bring it up to a nice simmer, stir it in there, boil it all up for about 20 minutes. Ooh, crash zoom. And does it go white? No!
Experiment 2.
Experiment 2 is go to the corner shop and buy whatever bleachy thing they have, put a decent slug of it into a whole bucket of hot water, then leave that for about 2 hours after stirring it heartily with a stick. And that will also not work.
Experiment 3.
Is pour out the entire bottle of bleach into a bucket with hardly any water in at all and leave it overnight. It's a great way of making a very clean blue shirt.
Experiment 4.
Experiment 4 is go on eBay and buy a white one. And this one, for some reason, just worked. It's a pilot shirt, it's a bus driver's shirt, it's a security guard's shirt. But most importantly, it's mine. Let's semi-accuratize. So the buttons should be brass. Really, they should be brass popper buttons, you know, press fasteners. But you can't really put a press fastener where there's already a buttonhole because the claws won't hook into there's a hole there and it's all very fiddly. So I compromised and bought some sew-on brass buttons. There's a lot of hand stitching in this project, which I must have been enjoying because originally I decided not to do this pen holder thing, but then I saw through one of my see-through costume boxes the ties, you know, the belt of this festive apron. So I snipped off a bit of that canvas tape, attached it here, quite fiddly to space out. I just put a bit of thin masking tape between each loop and just wrapped it over a thick marker pen because I think it's a pen holder. And then using this embroidery frame is a great way of not stitching the back of something to itself because you sew through by mistake and it's fiddly. These are Nostromo wings, which I found on eBay. You can't get them anymore, not from the person I bought them from anyway. And I'm attaching them, and also this window, which I think is probably intended to have a name tag in it, which I thought actually I could just make that out of white shoelace. So I did. Using mostly a back stitch to try and match the sewing machine stitching of the shirt, so you just get a constant row of stitches by going back on yourself. Pink piping, an interesting choice. Piping on the pocket flaps, it's baby pink, it's very pale pink, but pink it is. And on the collar, just a pale pink shoelace, which I'm hand stitching to the underside. Then using a flame to tidy up the ends of the threads, and there's the shirt. And yes, you don't want to cut yourself doing this, because it's a white shirt. Thank you to my mother-in-law for lending me a thimble. The shoes, as you can see, absolutely no expense has been spent on this project, although they are style England Dream City, so you know they're good. That's a guarantee of quality. Masking tape around the little line and then use a red Sharpie to colour it in. The red Sharpie's mostly permanent. You might get pink hands, but it's going to be weathered anyway, so let's not worry about it. Moving on. These are D-clips. They're intended for hanging pictures, but I'm going to use them for shoelaces. So I taped them onto a piece of card and sprayed them whitish. Experiment 1. This is experiment 1. I was determined to use some two-sided hammered rivets. I've got the proper thing and the little metal cup that you hammer them into. That is my failure pile. Forget it. Just forget it. As is so often the case, split pins to the rescue. So I'm putting a split pin through, then folding the pins in so I don't stab myself in the ankle. And also, so it's equally not stabby, some more canvas tape. I think this was the drawstring of some old PJ bums, pyjama bottoms, that I had, that I thought quite cleverly I'll just hot glue. I've seen enough Drag Race to know that hot glue is very often the answer to life's little fashion problems. And then cover them up with a bit of tape, which looks quite neat. Speaking of quite neat, very fiddly masking around these split pin heads. Just stop and think if you're doing things in the right order. If I'd just put all the split pins through a piece of cardboard, it would have been and they're white. But I put them in first. And I'm going to live with that. Wibbed wubber. This is a big roll of wibbed wubber that I bought for some Red Dwarf cosplay that I may never do, I don't know. But it's very useful, it's a little bit sci-fi. So I'm cutting off strips, a bit of carpet tape, because that's a nice shock-absorbing adhesion, and then along the edges, super glue. Notice that the shoelaces on Signori Weaver don't have the ends of shoelaces, which of course are called. So I cut them off, and then any excuse to run a flame over something, sealed the ends with fire. This is leather paint, which I'm painting onto rubber. No, it didn't stay on there very much. It was quite flaky, but these are very weathered, beaten up shoes. If you actually look at the screen references, the paint on the shoes in the movie didn't stay on any better than mine did. The watch, or watches, the double watch. It took me a long time to look at the original screen costume item and realise it's just two of the same watch. I made the mistake of copying another guy's replica, but this is a very fun cheapo thing to make. It's two very cheap, like £2.50 digital watches. Cut the strap off one, make sure you cut the right strap off because one of the straps was thicker than the other, so if I'd done it wrong, the strap wouldn't have gone through the buckle. So you need to cut off the thinner strap, the thicker. So you need to cut off the wider strap so that the narrower one remains to go through the wider buckle. Yes. Then I've just super glued them together, and because I don't think that will hold, this is a bit of self-adhesive pleather for fixing rips in leather chairs. Put a bit of that across the back of both watches, and then this is some orange foam. This is really cheap and cheerful. Cheap and cheerful is never said with a great deal of cheer, that phrase. It's like, it's a bit cheap and cheerful, isn't it? You can buy 3D printed versions of this orange watch holder, but this is meant to be fun, and once you weather it, it's all good, man. Just cut out some edges, and then once again using my sticky pleather, I'm cutting out a shape to go on the back, because I didn't like the idea of having craft foam against my skin all day. So I thought, well, leather's more comfy. Then more carpet tape with super glue around the edge. So it's a super glue frame around a carpet tape masterpiece, and then stick all that onto the fun foam. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but it's fun. I tried to turn off the beep on these watches and made it so it beeps every hour. The jumpsuit. They're screen accurate, and then there's one that costs just under 22 quid and is fine. I'm currently wearing it, it's comfy. I bought some dark zips because all I'm doing is attaching zips to the legs. They're just cosmetic zips. I love their first album. All I did to tidy them up, because they come on quite a wide ribbon, is put a strip of thin double-sided tape down the back and fold the sides over, which wasn't a great idea because in places I had to sew through double-sided tape and the needle got sticky, and so yeah, I thought the tape would be a quick, cheap and cheerful, again cheap and cheerful, or weak and dreadful solution. Anyway, sewing through a double-sided tape was a bear and a pain and a chore and a grind. There's a bit of I got busy and stopped filming things because I was running out of time, which I'm sure other YouTube crafters will know is a very real syndrome. As I say, I was stitching these zips onto my legs at 10:30 the night before Thought Bubble, which I didn't need to because, as you can see, my stall came up to here. But I knew they were there. I also hemmed about this much off the bottom of the legs, and then my wife did help me sewing machine around that bottom hem, because if you just need a straight, neat line doing and you've got a sewing machine, use it. Let's shop. Thank you, patrons. I did buy these Nostromo patches in about February, I think, and then out of character I lost them. I don't lose a lot of things, but I could not find them, and I just thought, let's buy them again. And when I find the ones I bought before, I'll put them on eBay or something. Also with the green shirt, I was absolutely certain I had a khaki, like military green t-shirt until 2 days before Thought Bubble, when I looked and found I must have thrown it away or something. So I bought a pistachio green t-shirt and got it overnighted to me, and the Nostromo pin as well. When these patches come, they are very shiny and very stiff. So first thing is scrunch them up into a tighter ball as you can to break the sort of plastic shiny layer on the back. And then I'm just rubbing them with some white chalk, some grey chalk, brushing most of it off with a brush and then wiping it with a wet wipe. It just takes the shine off, makes it softer and gives it a little bit of age. Same thing with these white shoes. As I say, the shoes in the movie are absolutely ridiculously falling apart. But this is proper filthy grey, peachy, sandy colour and black chalk all over with a brush, all over with a wet wipe, and then pretend, sort of role play like you're trying to wipe it off, and it stays in all the nooks and crannies. Then also with all the dust that was all over my paper and all over my wet wipes, I just messed up the shoelaces as well. Same thing, same brown and black dust mix all over the watch, and then even though the watch wouldn't be made of metal, I am just chipping the edges with a silver pen because it looks scraped and scratched and spacefaring. Now let's kit up, blast off and take a look at the finished thing. Oh no, next door started sanding or something. Right, between us, let's agree to ignore if you can hear a slight background noise that's going. Just ignore it. So as I say, I had a lovely time at Thought Bubble. If you don't know what Thought Bubble is, it's Comic-Con, which used to happen in Leeds but now happens in Harrogate every year. I've always helped out my wife behind her stall, but this was the first year I had my own stall, my own little half stall. I shared a table with a guy called Ben Edwards, who's a great comics maker and a lovely guy. Made a bit of money, but more importantly met lots of lovely people, talked about Red Dwarf and Alien and Blade Runner a lot. Thank you so much to 2 of my patrons who brought me some old sprues to use in an upcoming build. It's always just a really nice vibe. I think it's how the world should be, Thought Bubble, and yes, I find it quite moving. It's very, apart from actual Christmas, it's my favourite time of year. I did learn some things. It's not the day to break in a new pair of shoes. It's why I didn't bother to go as a Ghostbuster on the Sunday. There are too many accessories, it's too hot, there's too much to carry, but it's fine. What was I selling at Thought Bubble, you didn't ask? Well, if you'll indulge me, I've got some new stuff in my Etsy shop, and it's Christmas shopping season, so I'd be foolish not to mention this, right? You do understand. Okay, so there's a set of stickers. I've deliberately made them quite small so you can use them to label your glue gun, your spare blades, your UV light, your box of tufts, your box of magnets, your soldering iron, your box of baking soda, and your tin of primer. There is a new Food Farms book. I absolutely love this thing. Very happy with that back, very tactile. I've now made 4 Food Farms videos, which are all on my YouTube channel, which is where you are currently now. And this is all of them. Before this, I made a poster after the first 3 films, and I realised it's quite a commitment to ask people to hang up something which looks exactly like the Farm Foods catalogue on their wall. So this is a book which contains every single food farm, including Jelly Week. Jelly Week! And these, Mince Men. It's the Mince Man. Are you the person who messaged me last year to ask, am I doing Mince Men again? Because the answer is yes, but I can't find the message anywhere, so you might miss out on them again. But these are silicone cast and resin moulded with a real glass jar. They're quite lovingly made. They're all full of quinoa and tea and gold glitter, and fairly incredibly to me, I sold 5 of them at Thought Bubble, 4 of them to people who have never seen a video with this guy in and don't know what he is. So I think it's just a very enjoyable tactile object, you know? So I think if you could just see it in person, you'd really want one. as borne out by Thought Bubble. They were also right at the front of my stall, and I knew that kids would, you know, children are very drawn to this sort of action figure-like monster. And finally, if the big sort of horse brass Defuffets Christmas tree decorations that I made last year are a little bit of a commitment for you, and big is the operative word, I've made some more acceptable small ones. It's a lovely little glass cabochon mounted in a real metal pendant backing with Defuffet Shoe logo and all your favourite fuddy Christmas characters. There's also all my usual sci-fi fan art on there, so please do consider buying something from my Etsy shop because, you know, I'm a good guy, I'm a real person, and I use hardly any of the money for evil. So I said at the start that I would say why I haven't posted a video for 5 or 6 weeks, and I'm going to mention it because I don't want anyone thinking my enthusiasm for this project is in any way waning. It's not. But there were a couple of losses in my family, quickly followed by a huge medical emergency. So it was a 6 trips to the hospital, sort of a month. Had a lovely week's holiday in Greece as well, but some of those things happened while we were in Greece. So some highs, quite a few lows, and just a sort of a weird, I don't know, it's like shock, I guess, a sort of hazy. It's not like my priorities change and I thought that this doesn't matter, but you get in this state where anything you do, you think, should I be doing this? Do I do this now? Should I shave my eyebrows off like they did in ancient Egypt when they were grieving? You know, what am I supposed to do? So it's why I did the snowy cemetery terrain for the local gaming shop, because it was just a thing I'd promised to a person and it was on a deadline. But loads of things coming up in the new year. War of the Worlds, Red Dwarf, Star Trek, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, all that jazz. Next up, there's a slightly Christmas themed making video, then this year's Christmas video. Not Food Farms, thank you to the couple of people who tweet every year. Can't wait for this year's Food Farms. You think I do it annually, I actually don't. Yeah, I'm doing something which will be a lot more work and a lot less popular. It's finally time to thank in person using words and my mouth. Recent patrons Smokey, Lauren, Daniel Moore, who is a... Ooh, my cheapo digital watch has just beeped, which has just reminded me that I should have been wearing it this whole time. Daniel Moore, who is a Masterpiece patron no less, The Tormented Shadow, Hydromecha and Domino. Thank you so, so much. Welcome aboard. Love you guys. Unless you're a right baddie or like a rotter, in which case I don't. But I suspect you're not. My Patreon is a real oasis of loveliness and enthusiasm and support, and oh, it's great. So thank you as always so much for watching, loads of love from me, and I will see you soon.